Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to talk about something huge, a real turning point for artificial intelligence. We're looking at a future where AI doesn't just copy what humans do, but one where it can actually learn and discover things all by itself. So let's just start with the big idea, the question that really changes everything. What if an AI could get smarter without us, without needing anyone to teach it, to guide it, to give it the answers? To really get why this new idea is such a big deal, we gotta back up a little and look at how we've been teaching AI up to this point. For a long, long time, the whole game has been about one thing: imitation. So the traditional way is called supervised learning. The best way to think about it is like this. You give a student a massive textbook, and in this textbook are millions of questions, and right next to them, all the correct answers, perfectly labeled. The AI's job is to just study, to go through all these human-made examples and get really, really good at spotting the patterns. You can see that with this approach, knowledge only flows one way. It goes from us, the humans making the textbook, to the AI that's reading it. It's a one-way street. But what happens when you get to the end of that street? And that brings us to the big problem, the fundamental weakness of just learning by copying. There's a limit, a hard wall that imitation on its own just can't get past. Okay, so here's the deal. An AI trained on our data can learn pretty much everything we humans have figured out. But that's the ceiling. It can't ever get smarter than us. Why? Because you can't create an example in the textbook for a problem you haven't solved yet. The knowledge literally stops with us. And this is a huge point, coming straight from the researchers. Making that textbook, all that high-quality data, it's incredibly slow and expensive. It's a massive bottleneck. We simply can't create enough good examples fast enough to keep up. So how do you get past that wall? Well, you don't try to climb it. You just change the rules of the game completely. What if, instead of being the student, the AI could become its own teacher? This new way of thinking is called self-play, and it's a total shift. The AI isn't just sitting there waiting for us to give it some homework. No, it starts making up its own questions, its own challenges. Then it tries to solve them, checks its own work, and actually learns from its own process. And this quote from one of the researchers, Andrew Zhao, just hits the nail on the head. It's such a perfect analogy for how we learn, right? When we're little kids, sure, we imitate our parents. But real growth, real learning, that comes from being curious, from starting to ask your own questions. And that's exactly what this new AI is designed to do. So what's it called? The system that makes all this possible has a pretty cool name, the Absolute Zero Reasoner, or AZR for short. And absolute zero is the key part, because it starts from zero. Zero human-made examples. Now, an AI that teaches itself. That might sound like something out of science fiction, but it's very real, and it's based on a really clever process. So how does this thing actually work? Let's pop the hood and take a look. Okay, so the secret sauce here is this really elegant, powerful four-step loop that just runs over and over. Step 1, the AI proposes a problem. Step 2, it tries to solve that problem. Step 3, it verifies its own answer. And step 4, it uses that feedback to improve itself. Then it just starts the loop all over again, getting a little smarter each time. So for those first 2 steps, the AI is basically wearing 2 hats. It's the teacher, who's coming up with a tough new problem, and at the same time, it's the student who's trying to wrestle with it and find a solution. It's always trying to create problems that are right at the edge of its own abilities. Okay, but wait a second. This brings up a huge question, right? If the AI is making the problems and solving them, how on earth does it know if the answer is actually correct? Who's the judge here? And this is where the real genius of the system comes in. The judge isn't a person, and it isn't another AI. It's a code execution environment. See, the AI creates and solves all its problems using computer code, and the feedback is totally objective. It's black and white. The code either works or it doesn't. No opinions, just facts. So why is code the perfect tool for this? Well, it boils down to 3 things. First, it's universal. You can describe almost any logical problem with it. Second, it lets the AI build incredibly complex and structured challenges for itself. And most importantly, the feedback is 100% objective. It works or it doesn't. End of story. All right, so let's zoom out. What does all of this mean? Where is this endless loop of self-improvement heading? The implications are, frankly, mind-boggling. We're not just talking about AI catching up to us anymore. We are talking about a path to something else entirely. And this quote from Gillian Zhang, one of the researchers, really puts it into perspective. He says this could be a pathway to superintelligence, a system that isn't limited by our knowledge, one that can just keep getting smarter on its own. Well, that's how you get to intelligence that's far beyond our own. So let's just break down what makes this such a game changer. First, you don't need human data anymore. That bottleneck is gone. Second, the AI can theoretically improve itself forever. Third, these models can actually outperform the ones we painstakingly trained by hand. And finally, and this is the most exciting part, it could have the power to find and solve problems we don't even know exist. And all of this leaves us with one last, really big question to chew on. Throughout all of human history, we've been the ones asking the questions. We've been the explorers. But in a world with an AI that has its own curiosity, an AI that can explore the universe of knowledge on its own, what does our role become then?